Last night, 11-2, the offense, which has been performing very well. We'll dive into that with Todd Zolecki, MLB.com. Not the best night last night, but I guess it's tough. Morgan sent down after getting shelled. Bailey is up. Getting ready for the All-Star break for the Phillies, Todd, and at 40-47, I guess not a great record, but still has exceeded a lot of expectations, has it not?
Yeah, I think for a lot of people it has. I went into the season, a bunch of the beat writers kind of made preseason predictions and, how many wins do you think the Phillies will have at the end of the year? And I said 75, and I was probably one of the more optimistic people in the group because I just thought their starting pitching was going to be so much better than last year. I remember they had Harang and Jerome Williams and David Buchanan and Severino Gonzalez and Chet Billingsley and Kevin Correa, and, the list went on and on of guys with ERAs of over 6, and they were just buried every game. So I thought they were going to be better. And honestly, this record is kind of right where I thought they would be. Not showing some promise, showing some upside, but also showing that they still have a lot of deficiencies and they're not quite ready to compete for the postseason.
Yeah, I got to ask about Borges and Ashe. Here's two guys, kind of they come off as like journeyman type guys, just stopgap guys, but all of a sudden, are the Phillies looking at these guys a little differently?
I don't think so. I think the jury's still out yet. I think the sample size is small enough where they're going to have to see a lot more from these guys to figure out if they're going to be part of the future. But certainly it's encouraging. In fact, I think the most encouraging thing is if I'm a contending team, and I may be looking for a center fielder or a corner outfielder, and you look at the Phillies' roster, you see Peter Borges is really hitting the ball well, and I think he could help a team. I think Cody Ashe could really help a team if he continues to hit the ball well. Not to say that Cody Ashe would be a prime-time player, but he might be a good little bench piece. Maybe you can work him into a trade. But Peter Borges is the guy I think, again, if he continues to hit, suddenly becomes pretty attractive to a contending team looking for some outfield help.
Yeah, and of course, you look at the Phillies down in the minor leagues. They got guys that are kind of tearing it up right now. So are guys knocking on the door where they might have to move guys that they didn't anticipate having to move, like those Ashe and Borges type of guys? Are they going to try to move them to clear some room for some guys?
Yeah, I think that also is a good point. I think Nick Williams is going to be up at some point this season if he continues to play well. And, Dubal Herrera's got to play every single day. Tyler Goodell's going to keep a spot on the roster because he's a Rule 5 pick. And if Nick Williams comes up, he needs to play every day. So you're not going to, call up Nick Williams and get rid of Jimmy Paradis, who's a marginal part-time player. When Nick Williams comes up, he's got to play every day, so you got to get rid of an everyday player. And again, that to me, if Peter Borges keeps playing, it makes him kind of an ideal trade candidate. Not to say that they're going to, get a huge package in return for him, but he does have a lot of value if he keeps hitting like he's been hitting lately.
Todd Zolecki, MLB.com, with the Phillies in Colorado. Yesterday, Makinen had said that, hey, we're kind of settling into a lineup that Hernandez and Galvez are hitting where they belong. Everybody else is kind of in a spot here. I guess the question really is, you see Howard in the lineup again tonight. How is that first place platoon thing going? Is that kind of fluid still? Are you noticing that that's a little bit more fluid than they made it out to be?
I think it's fluid. I think it's a little bit more fluid right now. I think they're going to still play Tommy Joseph the majority of the time, but he's going to have to hit. And if he doesn't hit, they'll throw Howard out there. And I think they're content right now with what they have at first base. I know it's been a big, point of contention for a lot of Phillies fans with Ryan Howard's spot on this roster. I personally don't think it's that big of a deal at this point. We're talking, it's early first week of July, so we're August, September, a little less than 3 months to go of the season of Ryan Howard being a member of the Phillies. So, I think if he's hitting the ball well, he's had a lot of success in his career at Coors Field, a lot of big moments at Coors Field. He homered last night. So I have a feeling that's kind of why he's in there tonight. But I still think, that said, the majority of the playing time going forward is still going to go to Tommy Joseph. They do want to get him a longer look and make sure they have a pretty good feel for him going into the offseason to know do we need to go out and sign a free agent first baseman or find somebody that can play first base next year to kind of help this team out offensively.
Yeah, how about Jake Thompson, the way he's been going, 0-7-3 in his last 7 starts? Would that open their eyes a little bit more to a Hellickson deal? We've heard his name in the news earlier today.
Yeah, same thing with him as well. Same thing like we were talking about with Peter Porges. You know, their play going into the trade deadline, and then the team's prospect situation in the minor leagues is going to have, I think, an influence on what they do. Now, I've talked to people in the organization. They say, listen, we're not just going to get rid of Jeremy Hellickson and Peter Porges for nothing. Like, if the contending team says, we'll give you a Class A, eighth inning guy that's never going to sniff the big leagues, the Phillies are like, well, then, we'll keep Jeremy Hellickson in the rotation the rest of the season, have him continue to mentor these young pitchers, and maybe these next 2 months of Jeremy Hellickson mentoring these younger pitchers and kind of stabilizing this rotation as the only veteran in the rotation will maybe pay off in different ways down the road. So, but if they get something that they think could help them a year or two down the road, or maybe even 3 years down the road, I definitely think they're going to be willing to do it, because Jeremy Hellickson is not going to be back next year. I would be very, very surprised if they would keep him the rest of the season and then re-sign him. And so for that reason, I think they're motivated.
Todd, how? I guess you look down. I know you're not with the minor leagues all the time, but in the last couple of years, minor league prospect coverage has become so big. How good is the Phillies minor league system?
The Phillies minor league system is very, very good.
Which, if we had this conversation last year at the same week, it would not be very good.
No, in fact, after the trade deadline last year, really at the end of last season, MLB Pipeline, which is our minor league website at MLB.com, they rated the Phillies, or when I talked to their people, they had the Phillies' farm system after the 2014 season is really probably one of the worst 7 in baseball. But after the trade deadline last year, after Utley being traded and whatnot, they are now a top 7 farm system. So they have a lot of prospects. They have a lot of talent. The drafts have been encouraging so far. The international signings they like. We're not going to know about a lot of these international guys. Nobody knows really anything about them for several years. But yeah, very, very good system. A lot of organizations would very much love to have what the Phillies have. And what I like about it is they understand the importance of quantity. You want quality. What I'm trying to say is, during the draft, they didn't go out and spend their number 1 draft pick. They didn't blow their entire signing bonus allotment on their number 1 draft pick. They drafted Mickey Moniak, who's probably a top 5 guy, paid him considerably less, so they could pay more to get some higher profile guys in the second, third rounds, because all these prospects are not going to hit, So you got to have as many quality guys as you can, increase the quantity as much as you possibly can. That'll increase the likelihood that some of these guys turn out, and that's what the Phillies are doing, and I really like that a lot.
Todd, what is Rupp's future? I mean, do they view him as a starter, a backup? Because catching's a spot where they do have a couple guys.
Right, I think he can play himself into a bigger role. Right now, I think if you put a gun to somebody's head in the front office, they would say, we really like Cameron Rupp. He's opened our eyes. I don't know if he's a frontline catcher yet, but certainly, going into the offseason with Chooch very unlikely to be back, we feel like Cameron Rupp could be a 90, 100 start type of guy. I believe that. So, but if he continues to hit the ball well, he could certainly increase his playing time a little bit. But right now, I don't see if they look at him and go, he's absolutely our catcher of the future. But he certainly has made it interesting. Everybody went into the season going, Cameron Rupp is nothing more than a placeholder until Jorge Alfaro or Andrew Knapp reach the big leagues. But those guys are going to have to play now because he's been hitting the ball very, very well.
Do they view Herrera as a center fielder still? I mean, is that his long-term spot? Have they budged on that at all?
Yeah, I think they look at him as a center fielder right now. Now, if Roman Quinn would come up and, first of all, get healthy and then perform in the minor leagues, come up to big leagues and perform, he would be the center fielder. I'm sure they would move Herrera. but right now they look at him as a center fielder. I think he could move into one of the corners at some point if they get a more true center fielder. In terms of second base, he played second base in the minor leagues, but he moved out of second base for a reason. He wasn't a very quality second baseman. He's a better outfielder than he was a second baseman. Now, that doesn't mean, I guess, he never will play second base in the future, but I don't think it's something that, they're sitting there going, okay, once Roman Quinn comes up, we're moving Herrera to second base. I don't think that's a real serious conversation at this point.
And Altair back, you think we'll see him soon?
I think it's possible. He basically has to go through an entire spring training again. So I would say at least a month, and that's going to be interesting as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if Cody Ashley continues to play well, if Nick Williams comes up, Odubel Herrera is there, Tyler Goodell's still on the team, how does Aaron Altair fit in? It's really too bad for him because he was going to be the guy. They were going to put him in right field. He was going to play every day. He was going to be the everyday right fielder for the Phillies, and then he injured his wrist in spring training, and now you kind of wonder how he is going to fit in exactly.
Yeah, where do they view Nick Williams at? What position do they view him as at the big league level?
Well, he's a corner guy for right now, and I think that's where when he comes up, he's going to be in one of the corner spots, and I don't know when he will come up, but I got to think. We talked to Andy McPhail in San Francisco a couple weeks ago, and he said his expectation is if some of these young guys are playing well and deserve a promotion, that they will get a promotion before the end of the season. So that has me believe that Nick Williams will be up at some point, and when he does, like I said, he'll be in the corner spot.
Real quick, Todd Zolecki, MLB.com. We hear so much about Cousins and Hoskins. Are those guys on the radar at all?
Absolutely, they're on the radar. They're MLB Pipeline has them among the Phillies' top 30 prospects. They might even jump up on that list a little bit. Phillies love. I remember when the Phillies drafted Dylan Cousins a few years ago. They absolutely loved his power. They thought, all right, this guy has real raw power. He can kind of harness that power a little bit. He could be a really great player, and he's really kind of proven right. They think Rhys Hoskins has some talent. I don't know if he's in terms of an immediate promotion, not necessarily for Cousins either, but absolutely. These two guys have opened some eyes, and, it's not a stretch for me to think that, if Odubel Herrera remains in center field, you could have Dylan Cousins and Nick Williams in your two corner spots, a year or two down the road.
Mickey Moniak, by the way, first professional home run, 3 for 4. So the young guys, the good times are rolling. He, of course, is down at the Gulf Coast League making his Phillies debut. Todd Zolecki's with the team, MLB.com for more, of course, as the Phillies get ready to take on the Rockies. Thanks, Todd.
Thanks.